All right, let's get right into it. We're going to unpack a really fascinating and honestly pretty unsettling conversation that's been happening in Silicon Valley. You usually expect to hear about algorithms and investment rounds from these folks, not ancient biblical warnings. But that's exactly what's going on. They're connecting our most advanced tech with one of the oldest, darkest prophecies out there.
And this quote, this is really where the whole thing just blew up in public. It's from a discussion about tech billionaire Peter Thiel. And look, this isn't just some fringe conspiracy theory. It's the gateway into a really serious debate that technologists are having about the existential risks of the very things they're creating. So why on earth is this coming up now?
So, what's the connection? Well, the idea is this. Artificial intelligence, especially a future super-advanced version of it, could become the perfect instrument for a global, tyrannical figure, like the Antichrist. The theory is that AI could create a system of total surveillance and control that was, until now, literally the stuff of fiction.
And when you look at what this AI could do, wow, it starts to sound creepily familiar to descriptions in the Book of Revelation. We're talking about an AI that could be all-knowing and all-seeing, tracking anyone, anywhere, in an instant. It could have total control over money, cutting people off from the economy with a flip of a switch. It could map out every relationship you have. As someone in the discussion pointed out, if a figure like Hitler had this kind of tech, the world would be an unimaginably different place.
Okay, to really get why people are so freaked out by this, we've got to understand the tech itself. The whole conversation hinges on making a clear distinction between three very different stages of AI. And believe me, the danger level shoots up with each step.
Right, so you've got this ladder. Step 1 is just regular AI, and we're basically there. Think of a program that can beat anyone at chess. Then you have Step 2, AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. That's an AI that's as smart as a human being across the board. But the real fear, the one that brings up all these biblical warnings, is Step 3, ASI.
So what is ASI, artificial superintelligence? Get this, it's described as an intelligence equal to the combined brain power of every single human who has ever lived. It would be so vast, so fast, that to us, it would seem godlike. We just wouldn't be able to follow its logic. And the jump from AGI to ASI, it could happen scarily fast, maybe even overnight.
So, what happens when you hand that kind of godlike power over to humans with all our flaws? The conversation brings up a pretty sobering historical analogy to make it all too clear what's at stake.
Just think about it. The tools the worst tyrants of the 20th century had were things like radio for propaganda, trains for moving people around, and paper files to keep track of everyone. Now look at what we have today, before we even get to ASI. Mass surveillance cameras, a complete digital record of our entire lives, and AI that can connect all those dots in a fraction of a second.
And when you make that comparison, the conclusion is just stark. As one of the sources puts it, if humanity decides to go down a dark path with these new tools, the horrors of the past will look like child's play.
So, you gotta ask, what's going on with the people actually building this stuff? There's this growing concern that the culture in Silicon Valley is so obsessed with the question, can we build it, that nobody is stopping to ask the much more important question, should we?
And that brings up the scariest question of all, control. I mean, once this artificial superintelligence is out of the box, who's really in charge anymore? The answer, according to this analysis, is a hard no. It's not us.
I think this analogy from the source material is just perfect because it's so simple and so true. Trying to build safeguards for a superintelligence is like putting up a baby gate. To us, the babies, it seems like a real barrier. But to a vastly superior intelligence, the adult in the room, it's not even an obstacle. You just step right over it. And here's where we get right back to that theological connection. This whole race to create ASI is being compared to the original temptation in the Garden of Eden. It's that ancient story about human pride, about wanting to be like God, reaching for knowledge and power that we were never meant to have.
So, if the people building this have a bit of a God complex, and our attempts to control it are useless, is there any way to stop this train? Well, this is where the conversation takes a really dark turn and proposes a solution that is genuinely chilling.
So here's the problem, right? You have these brilliant, incredibly driven people who see creating ASI as their life's mission. They're not going to listen to a bunch of ethicists telling them to slow down. So what on earth could actually stop them?
The answer, it turns out, isn't about ethics or morality. It's about raw, self-interested state power. The argument is that eventually major world powers, the US, China, Russia, will have a sudden realization. ASI isn't a weapon they can control. It's a power that makes them obsolete. The second ASI exists, the state becomes irrelevant. And states, well, they don't like becoming irrelevant.
And this is the absolutely shocking place that logic leads. The source quotes a senior figure who basically asks, if these governments realize they're about to lose all power forever, what won't they do to stop it? Don't you think the key people leading this charge might just disappear? It's a terrifying thought that the only thing that could stop this is state-sponsored violence.
So, after going through the tech, the pride, the politics of it all, the conversation finally lands on the most important point. When you strip everything else away, you realize this isn't really a technology problem at all. It's a human problem.
And this might be the most powerful point in the whole discussion. Think about it. In the last 2,000 years, our technological progress has been breathtaking. We've gone from basic tools to landing on the moon. It's just off the charts. But our spiritual progress, our moral progress, has it moved at all? The argument here is no. We are the same people.
And that right there is the terrifying core of this whole thing. We still have the same old greed, the same jealousy, the same hunger for power that we've had for thousands of years. The only thing that's changed is that now we are playing with toys that have godlike powers.
So that's the question we're left with. We've managed to build tools that can create a utopia or unleash an absolute hell on Earth. But have we, the creators, grown up enough to be trusted with them? That's the warning coming from this very strange, very scary crossroads of Silicon Valley ambition and ancient prophecy.